Law enforcement agencies have made nearly 500 arrests as part of a historic crackdown. 11 agencies joining forces in the Windy City to conduct an operation meant to take criminals off the streets. Well, that operation leading to the recovery of more than a dozen children who'd been kidnapped. Federal officials see these joint operations as a blueprint for future crime crackdowns. Our crime correspondent Jason Matera has more on this. Jason?
The federal law enforcement apparatus is set up to play defense, and right now we're playing offense.
And that offense came with a name. Operation New Dawn. Described as an unprecedented partnership, it brought together 11 federal agencies with one mission: to make Chicago and the surrounding area safe again in special recognition of the nation's 250th birthday. We spoke with the FBI official who helped lead the Assistant Special Agent in charge, Robert Wizoret.
These are homicides. These are narcotic trafficking. These are people with cartel ties. These are individuals that are driving violence in our neighborhood on a day-to-day basis.
One of the most dangerous offenders arrested was Gary Llewellyn, also known as Lil Bird. Authorities say he and his crew carried out a string of brazen armed carjackings throughout the city. Llewellyn had been hiding out for 3 years.
These carjackings were particularly heinous and egregious. They were very violent.
Another apprehended fugitive was William Arzadi. He was charged with beating a man to death with a baseball bat. An Illinois judge allowed him to post bond. When his trial date arrived, Arzadi was nowhere to be found. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, all while remaining on the run. But that run is now over. He was tracked down in Mexico. In total, the Justice Department says that nearly 500 people were arrested and scores of illegal guns were taken off the street during this 60-day operation. And according to U.S. Attorney Andrew Boutros, many of the offenders swept up in Operation New Dawn had already been in custody, only to be released by local judges.
What you see are people who are violent offenders, repeat violent offenders, that the Cook County judges decide to release on pretrial conditions.
Now the feds say they have an answer to that catch-and-release style of progressive justice. Overwhelming. With manpower.
But when you get all of these agencies together and have a cohesive team approach to combating crime, it makes a huge impact.
In addition to the nearly 500 arrests, authorities say that 24 missing children were also recovered. Many of them said to be kidnapping victims. Now, we're told that this will not be the last operation of its kind, which is good news because Chicago and other progressive cities will need a lot more of them. Edie, Krisha?
Right. It takes a lot to overcome these activist judges as well.
This is a People's History of Native America with me, Tyler Cliff. And today, we're going to talk about the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Crisis, or MMIP. The MMIP crisis and movement is raising awareness to the alarmingly high rates of murders and missing cases of Native women. In America, homicide is the third leading cause of death amongst Native girls and women aged 1 to 44. And more than half of Indigenous women experience sexual violence. Even though Native Americans are only 2.5% of the U.S. population, Native women are 10 times more likely to be murdered than any other ethnicity. But did you know it all began with the cartoon most of us grew up watching? Pocahontas. Yeah, that's right. The Disney cartoon. As a kid, I always loved Disney's Pocahontas because it was the only representation we had on TV. It was so popular, I too thought I could tell between animals. But the only true thing about this movie is this. Disney claimed that Pocahontas was its first animated film inspired by a real-life figure. And while Pocahontas did exist, her real story has more to do with the MMIP crisis than falling in love with a settler. In fact, Disney's attempt to create a cartoon princess about people getting along together is more destructive to the indigenous narrative, especially once you know that Pocahontas was actually kidnapped, raped, and murdered. Pocahontas' tribe was the Pamunkey, located in present-day Virginia. Her real name was Eminent, but once colonization hit, she became the first case of the MMIP crisis, an epidemic that is plaguing almost every indigenous community on the continent. Unlike Disney's love story, the real tale of Pocahontas and John Smith is defined by cruelty at the hands of not only Smith, but his entire hired troop of settlers. In Disney, there was only one John, but in reality, there were two Johns. After enduring years of captivity under Smith, Pocahontas was forcibly wed to the other John, John Rolfe. She was captured for the purpose of sexual and economic exploitation, later having a son with Rolfe. When her and Rolfe made it to England, she was poisoned at the age of 22. She never made it home, and her body remains in Europe, while her descendants still live in Virginia to this day. What Pocahontas' story tells us is that the MMIP crisis, back then and today, is a direct result of the colonization of the Americans. Wait. But why am I explaining a woman's experience? Am I mansplaining? What I need to do is find a Native woman expert. Are there any around? Of course there are. I just found one on Google. That was easy. The part that I hate the most about this gig, emailing those with a PhD. Dear Christina, I may not be a woman. Wait, no, okay. Although I'm a man who needs a woman, definitely no. I'm looking for someone that can help me fill the gaps in my knowledge about the MMIP crisis. What do I know about the current MMIP crisis?
When we cover a protest, you'll always see a group of women carrying missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls signs.
Homicide is the third leading cause of death for American Indian girls.
Dear Christina,
tragic violence that Indigenous women and girls have experienced amounts to genocide.
I'm researching the MMIP crisis.
Even though MMIW that was started in Canada, women in Indian country have been going missing for a long time.
Being a Native person from the land now called Canada myself,
Thousands and thousands of women turning up missing or murdered every year.
This ongoing tragedy is extremely close to my heart.
American Indian women are 10 times more likely to be murdered.
I want to make sure that the information I present is accurate.
This is absolutely genocidal.
Our women have been going missing since 1492.
Dear Ty, sure, call me whenever. Here we go. Hey, Christina.
Hey, Ty.
What are some of the factors that are leading to the disappearance and death on Indian reservations?
Precedent was set 500 years ago with Pocahontas. That if you rape, murder, kill an Indigenous woman, then you're going to get away with it. And it may make you a hero throughout history for doing that. In 1978, the Supreme Court decided the case called Oliphant versus Suquamish. And the Supreme Court ruled that non-Indians cannot be prosecuted on tribal lands. So that gives a license to anyone who is not native and considers Native women expendable because they know they're not going to get caught. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to say that we are only ever victims, right? We are, again, we are still here. It amazes me that we are still here in the face of all of this.
What has been done to solve this problem?
So we are taking steps to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. But we also need our sovereignty to be strengthened. Tribes have been able to get grants through the Violence Against Women Act to create our own programs. Things that we know will help our own people, because all tribes are very different and what's happening in different reservations are different, and a lot of tribes don't have reservations.
Why has this issue been underreported for so long?
So I did a study on how federal recognition in tribes is portrayed in the media. And in 40 years, there were only 4,000 stories of federal recognition. And actually, there are only 20 stories in 40 years in broadcast news. And so when people don't hear these stories, they don't know about them. And so it's so much easier to perpetuate the stereotypes. And then the stories that do come out are the same stories. They're about poverty, about drunkenness, about welfare, and it doesn't give the depth of what's happening in Indian country. And so it's really easy to miss a story about missing and murdered Indigenous people because people just don't know outside. Unless the outside knows, then it's really hard for us to change anything because then people don't believe us.
Thank you, Christina. Tragically today, there are thousands of stories like Pocahontas out there. Indigenous women who have been ripped from their homes and from those who love them and meet them. Many Native women today have to navigate the justice system between four distinct jurisdictions: tribal, municipal, state, and federal. The numbers further expose this tragedy. 4 out of 5 Native American women experience violence. 1 out of 3 will be raped. 86% of these rapes are by non-Native men. So when Disney marketed Pocahontas as a love story based on real events and released the film to mark her 400th birthday, it capitalized off a tragic story that completely ignored the reality of a courageous Native woman who suffered way too cruel a fate. One of the most powerful things taken away from Pocahontas was her agency, and a distorted version of her legacy lives on. Although we can never give a voice back to all the NFP out there, we can change how society values Native American women. That evolution can only begin with the telling of the real story of Pocahontas, the most famous missing Native American woman in history.
It's become a new thing for us to control our own image. It's about representing ourselves the way we see ourselves.
What we build is grounded in our songs, our language, our ceremonies. We're engineers, we're doctors, we are doing things to make a difference in this world.
Our legacy will continue.
Adjust the energy. You know what I mean? As best you can. Adjust what you wake up thinking and what you say. And then lastly, what you do. There's no one answer to how you change the hood or change the reality of what goes on. But what you gotta think about is when you don't have resources, you're in survival mode. You know, so being in survival mode automatically rules out a lot of things. Because you don't care about morality, because you don't experience morality. You experience, the need to survive. You don't experience